The fallen leaves tell the story of Queen Marika the Eternal shattering the Elden Ring. And in the fallout of its destruction, the Rune of Death was stolen and used to slay 2 demigods. The remaining demigods fought to claim the fragments of the Elden Ring to take a piece of the power. Now, a foul Tarnished has made their way to the lands between to find the Elden Ring and claim the title of Elden Lord. This is where our journey begins. This is Elden Ring. I wake up in a strange chapel. There are a set of doors ahead. I make my way through them and find myself outside. Thousands of golden leaves fall through the air as I approach the edge of a cliff. In the distance is the silhouette of a large castle ahead that can be faintly seen through the fog of night. But what catches my eye is the blinding gold of the gargantuan tree towering over the castle. Its crystal clear image cutting through the dark fog to be always acknowledged. This is my first glimpse of the Erd Tree, the place of power for the golden lineage and the seat for the Elden Throne. If I am to find the Elden Ring, then the Erd Tree is the most likely place to hold its great power. But there is only one path forward, so I make my way down the broken wooden stairs and across an old shabby wooden bridge swaying in the rough wind. I come to a stone pathway with graves of warriors on both sides of the path. A large statue of Queen Marika sits at the end of the path. As I approach the statue, a large creature leaps from behind the statue and crashes to the ground in front of me. When the dust and debris clears, I see the creature rip its sword out of the earth and guard its human face with a shield. 2 more arms hold swords ready to attack. It runs on 4 legs and 4 hands, with 2 hands dangling limp below its massive, grotesque body. I look to see the path leading out is covered in a dense golden fog, and the way I came in has the same fog covering it. This leaves me only one option: fight or die. But I am no stranger to battle. I fought in a tribe as a soldier to the great chieftain of the Badlands, Horalu. So I take that art of war and clash with the grafted creature. Its many arms swiped and slashed, but I blocked and dodged, getting hits in when I could. The battle was vicious, but I was victorious. With the creature being slain, the fog lifted, revealing the exit. I made my way down the path and across another rickety wooden bridge to find myself at a dead end. Ahead was a cliff with some translucent butterflies fluttering about. With nowhere else to go, I approached the butterflies. Once I reach them, the cliff crumbles and I fall into the great, dark nothingness below. I wake in a dazed state. My body aches, my vision blurs, and my head rings as I find myself lying in a puddle of water. Something bumps my hand, and I hear the sound of a horse as I pass out again. I wake again and manage to stand up slowly. My body still aches, but I am able to move. I survey my surroundings and find that I am in a cave below the earth. The Rune of Death truly must have been stolen, as there is no way I should have survived that fall. I see ahead of me is a set of stone steps leading up to a pair of wooden doors. I go through the doors and make my way through a stone hallway. I approach a large stone plate at the end of the hall, and as I step onto it, the stone starts to lift upward as a magical elevator. After a few seconds, the elevator comes to a stop. I make my way forward to the metal door ahead and lift it up to reveal a massive, beautiful world. Up to the left, I see a large castle sitting on a cliffside with a familiar chapel a distance behind, sitting on a separate cliff. Ahead, there are hundreds of trees, and off in the distance, there is a great highway that has been fractured into several crumbling pieces. To the right, a large tower can be seen just below the Erd Tree that towers above everything. Welcome to Limgrave, a land ruled over by the last living member of the Golden Lineage. Just in front of me, there was a golden grace floating gently above some small roots, and just behind it stands a man in a white mask. I approach the grace and sit at it. When I do, all of my pain fades and I find myself back in peak physical condition. I stand back up and talk to the man in the white mask.
Oh yes, Tarnished, are we?
The man tells me that his name is Vare, and that the only way I am going to make it to the Erd Tree is if I can find a maiden who can turn runes to strength for me. He also tells me that the golden rays I see floating from the grace are guiding me towards my goals, and that if I follow them, then I am sure to accomplish all that I wish for, or die trying. Off to Castle Stormvale, the home of the decrepit demigod, Godric the Grafted. So I take his advice and follow the path, guided by the guidance of grace. I follow the grace, and it leads me through a trail in the woods with soldiers patrolling it. I make my way through the woods and find myself looking down at an encampment sitting in front of a massive stone wall with a raised gate. The encampment has a large number of patrolling soldiers, so I cautiously make my way around the camp to a grace sitting at the entrance to the gate. I sit at the grace, and through a blue magical mist, a woman appears and approaches me.
Greetings, traveler from beyond the fog. I am Melina. I offer you an accord.
She tells me that her name is Melina, and that she can take on the role of maiden for my journey, if I will take her to the Erd Tree. The Erd Tree is where I am already heading, and I need to be able to use runes to get stronger, so I agree to take her. With my agreement, she gives me the gift of a ring. This ring will allow me to summon a spectral steed named Torrent. I will need Torrent's assistance if I am to make my journey. With that, I stand up from the grace, and Melina disappears into the blue mist once again. I summon Torrent, and we follow the guidance through the gate towards the castle. The journey to the castle is rough, as the path to the castle is well guarded, but I endure the challenges and make my way through the guards. This leads me into another gate, sitting at the entrance of a long hallway. I travel down this hallway and find a door that leads back outside. I can see signs of this area once being a battlefield, as weapons can be seen scattered throughout the area ahead. To the right of the door, I notice a gold glowing sign on the floor. I examine it and see that a fellow Tarnished named Rogier would like to assist me with what lies ahead. I accept his aid and march through the door. The castle looms overhead, and the wind whips violently as I walk through the path surrounded by forgotten weapons.
Foul Tarnished, in search of the Elden Ring, emboldened by the flame of ambition.
A giant man with gray skin, white hair, ragged torn clothing, and horns protruding from the right side of his face lands in front of me. Margit lifts his cane, and we begin the dance of battle. Margit leaps into the air and slams down into me. The earth shatters as I deflect the blow with my shield, driving his cane into the ground. I slash him a few times with my greatsword while he stands up to prepare for his next blow. A swipe from his cane overhead, I roll to avoid and slash a few more times. Rogier comes in with a few stabs into Margit with his rapier, then steps back to launch a few blue glintstone sorceries from a distance. We continue this dance of trading blows until Margaret admits that he underestimated us and acknowledges us as true warriors. He creates a large hammer made of gold and slams it into the ground, and then jumps back and throws a few golden daggers at us. Rogier swipes at Margaret with a spectral blue blade, and Margaret spins to hit Rogier with his tail. The final blow to finish Rogier. Emboldened by the rage of my comrade's defeat, I size up Margaret and prepare to finish him. I guard his swipe aimed at me from the right, then a stab from the cane on my left. A third swipe from the right breaks my guard, and as he rears back to hit me with his great hammer, I take my shot. I duck his cane and swipe across his side to the left. Then, as I swipe back across the same wound, Margaret stumbles and falls to the ground, bursting into golden dust as I fell the great enemy. I lost a comrade in this fight, but I will honor his memory and continue with my goal. I see a graze nearby, which I sit at to regain my strength. Melina appears and asks for forgiveness, as she reveals that she has been testing us to see if we were truly guided by grace and if we were strong enough to face the challenges ahead. She tells us that she can see that she chose wisely. She then offers to take me to the round table, gathering place for tarnished warriors. I accept, and we turn to blue mist. I now find myself standing in a great room with a round table in the middle. This table has weapons stabbed into the middle of the table, and in the center of those weapons is a great golden grace larger than any we have seen before now. The round table is a place for warriors to get prepared for battle. There is a scholar who can sell you magic, a maiden who can sell you weapons and armor, and a blacksmith who can strengthen your weapons. But most important is the leader of the round table, Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing. He tells us that it has been some time since the last time a new Tarnished found their way to this place. But we can rest easy, as this is a safe place. He warns us, however, that we are still merely a guest, as we have not proven ourselves worthy of a place here yet. With that, we leave the hold and return to where Margaret fell. I return to Stormvale and make my way up the sloped path towards the castle. I approach to find the gate is shut, barring the entrance to the castle. To the left of the gate, I notice a doorway that leads to a room. Upon entering the room, a voice tells me to come here. I turn to see a man in torn, shabby clothes with a wooden board hanging around his neck. The man tells me that he would advise against using the main gate, as it is a death trap. I tell him I would like to use the main gate anyways, and he says he'll get them to open it, but it is hopeless. I return to the gate, and the man shouts for them to open the gate. The gate lifts, and I enter to see bodies lying on the ground. As I pass one, a ballista bolt strikes the ground in front of me. I dodge and sprint my way up the path to see the path guarded by multiple ballistas and a few soldiers. I then do, as any brave Tarnished would, and start to sprint up the path, trying to avoid getting shot. Once I am past the ballistas, I turn back to fight the soldiers. It is a rough battle, as I am swarmed by a dozen soldiers, but I slowly dismantle them until none are left standing. After which, I continue on the path, having to sprint past more ballistas and coming to a courtyard with a full garrison of soldiers guarding it. I still myself with the fortitude I gained from my time fighting armies alongside Horalu in the Badlands, and get ready to go to war. I tear my way through these soldiers while being struck by gales of targeted wind, arrows, fire, and blades. At the end of the yard, I see an omen standing guard with its sleeping watchdog. An omen is a child that is born with gray skin and horns protruding from their face. To those of the Golden Order, an omen is seen as an abomination. I approach and attack the dog first, knowing it will be the swifter of the two. After a few trades back and forth, I managed to bait the omen into finishing the hound as it strikes me. Now, it is just the omen. I dodge its blows and get a clean strike right down the middle to finish it off. I then head up a set of stairs and down a pathway to the right. I see an open door to the right of the path and enter a storage house to find a warrior standing over a fallen enemy. They are praising the fallen enemy and telling them that they were a fine battle. I approach the stranger, and she tells me that her name is Nefeli Lu, and that she was sent here by her father to defeat Godric. We tell her that we are also here to defeat Godric, and we make a pact to fight him together. So, we enter the Fog Gate, take on Godric the Grafted. Godric is the last known heir of the Golden Lineage, a relative to the great Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Godric, however, is nothing like his ancestors. While they were all proud, strong warriors, Godric was always a weak and pitiful man. Whispers say that Godric has been grafting Tarnished to him, so that he may take their power and make it his own, so that he may have the strength of his ancestors. Well, it appears those stories were true.
Mighty dragon, thou art a true-born heir. Lend me thy strength, O kindred. Deliver me unto greater heights. Well. The lowly Tarnished. Plain as a lord. I command thee, kneel! I am the lord of all that is golden.
Nefeli and I enter this great crumbling bridge to see a dead dragon pierced through by a column, and many graves littering the sides of the stone pathway. Standing in the center of the path is Godric. Godric has 8 arms grafted to his back, with one holding a large axe and 2 great big arms attached to his sides that hold another axe. He holds both axes on his right side as he runs towards me. He swings his axes in wide swinging arches and creates great gusts of wind to knock me down. With great strength, he slams his axes into the ground, creating minor earthquakes. Nefeli and I go back and forth, dodging attacks and hitting Godric with our own. We strike Godric between his blows and together avenge the fallen Tarnished that came before. Godric falls over in pain and begins to raise his axe. He brings it down and with a great roar of pain, cuts off his arm. Deciding he needs more strength, he rips off the head of the dragon and grafts it to his arm. The dragon head is now attached to his arm as it begins to move and breathe fire. Nefeli and I dash through the fire and the flames, crossing blades across Godric while avoiding being burned alive by the heat. Godric slams his axe into the ground and I jump over the impact. While he tries to lift his axe, I attack in the opening. With 3 great slashes of my greatsword and a lightning swipe of Nefeli's axe, Godric bursts into white dust. With her task completed, Nefeli leaves and we obtain our first great rune, Godric's rune. I then make my way up to the castle doors and enter the Lord's chamber, where a great throne sits in the middle of the room, imitating the Elden Throne. Behind this throne is a great stone statue of Lord Godfrey. Stormvale was a castle that Godfrey had taken over during the Crucible before his marriage to Queen Marika. After his marriage, he was required to erase any memory of his time as a savage warrior, and so this place was redecorated to herald the Elden Lord Godfrey, rather than the savage chieftain Horalu. This, however, is not the throne I seek. So, I headed down a hallway to the right, which was used during time of war as an escape from the castle. I make my way through this path and outside to find myself standing at the top of a cliff looking over a great lake. And off in the distance, in the middle of the lake, is an academy, towering over everything. Welcome to Liurnia, the seat of power for the once great Carian royal family. The grace guides us towards this academy, so we make our way there. Torrent's hooves slosh through the water as we gallop down the barely visible water-torn trail. I race past grafted monsters and Goliath lobsters as I race through Liurnia, towards the academy that looms on the horizon. As I approach the academy, I find myself in a flooded town where all of the buildings have been destroyed, only to leave behind ruins. Clearly, a battle must have taken place here. I make my way through this town and find myself coming to a staircase. My observations are confirmed, as the path is covered in makeshift wooden walls and spike traps for soldiers to hide behind. Some guards also can be seen guarding the stairs. I dismount Torrent and head up the stairs. A few soldiers guard the stairs. I find my way through them and find a courtyard at the top. In this courtyard are a few more soldiers. I begin to fight them, and as I do, a great machine with a grotesque face of a man bursts through the bushes. The face is spiked, protruding from the bottom of the man's face to convey the vision of a beard. Two yellow eyes follow my every move, watching as I dash away. Its ears have buildup of coal that radiate an orange heat as if its earwax had caught fire. Protruding from the mouth is a long barrel, glowing with the same orange heat. Flame erupts from the barrel as I discover this to be a large, flame-throwing vehicle. Its visage is clearly meant to allude to the fire giants of the snow-topped mountains. I dodge this machine's flames as I blast it with magic from a distance. I roll to avoid as it charges towards me and look to discover that the back of the machine is open and a man is easily able to be attacked as he pilots this vehicle. So, I blast him with magic and he falls still in defeat. I clear the rest of the courtyard of soldiers, then head up a sloped bridge to a gate. I approach to find that the great gate is sealed with a magical blue energy imbued with the royal seal of the Carian family. It appears that the only way I can pass this gate is if I were to have a key with the same magic as the seal. Right next to the gate is the body of a man who must have been on his way to the academy and conveniently fell lifeless right at the gate. On their person, I find a note that tells of a place where they were meant to meet someone nearby. So, with this as my only lead, I summon Torrent and we ride to the west. I approach to find a dozen beetles flying about carrying rolled up magical energy. In the center of them is a large spire of rock protruding from the ground. As I approach, I notice that something appears to be at the bottom of this rock, and it appears to be rising and falling in a way that resembles breathing. I crouch down to approach more stealthily and realize that I have come up on a sleeping dragon. I stay crouched and try to silently move around it as to not wake the dragon. As I get behind the dragon, it wakes up and stands up. It has not seen me yet, but I know it will soon. So I rush for the key, and as I do, the dragon turns. I pick up the key, and just as I do, the dragon roars in anger as it sees me invading its lair. There was only one option. I must slay this dragon. The dragon goes to stomp at me, and I roll to avoid, then turn to take a few slashes at its leg. The dragon flies up into the air and crashes to the ground with a large crash. I dodge this and take a shot to weaken the target, then rush in with a flurry of cuts from my blades. The dragon flies into the air and spews forth magical blue flames. I summon Torrent and jump through the fire and flames. This great dragon was a devourer of glintstone sorcerers, and over its great time of devouring these powerful wizards, it became corrupted. Glintstone grows over the head and body of the dragon, blinding it and giving it a rocky shell. The power of Glintstone is imbued into its flames, giving them blue magical flames that override the heat and just hit with magic. We continue this back and forth until with one last slash, the beast is bested and it bursts into white magical dust as it falls to the ground. With the key in hand, I return to the seal. I touch the seal and phase through as I am teleported to the entrance of the academy. I find myself standing in a small courtyard. To the right is another magical seal which leads north, but to the left is an elevator which leads into the academy. I approach this large stone elevator that is held by a set of chains and stand on the pressure plate in the middle. It lifts, and after it comes to a stop, I exit the room. I walk out to see a prodigious academy with white marble walls, beautiful steeples, and large glass windows that exude the air of nobility. Floating around the academy is a thick blue fog, sparkling with the magical energy of glintstone. I traverse the bridge that guides the only path towards the academy and up to a pair of stairs that require you to take in the monument of architecture ahead. Two sorcerers stand at the top of the stairs. I approach cautiously, as I am yet to know whether these two are friend or foe. As I approach, they begin to shoot me with magical glintstones. I sprint for the sorcerers and strike them down with my blades before they can do me much harm. I then approach the two huge metal doors and begin to force them open as I push. The doors open, and I find myself in a chapel. I make my way through the chapel, fighting a sorcerer and a few mannequins. There is an opening off to the left, so I go through and find myself in a hallway. I follow the hallway, and it leads me outside to a grassy dirt path. I look up, and the academy looms overhead. With nowhere else to go, I follow the dirt path. Following this path, I run into several shambling corpses with glowing blue eyes and mouths. They are like zombies, but instead of being interested in eating your flesh, they want to siphon all of the magical energy from your body. I find my way through this magical graveyard and find a massive windmill with platforms that go up. I look down and see a pit filled with giant glintstone crystals. I jump on a platform and ride it to the top. This leads to a doorway that I enter to find a storage room for glintstone. It appears they mine the crystals from below and use the platforms to get the crystals back up here to this room. From here I exit to a hallway where I find several sorcerers who I take out. I go up a staircase and find a few more sorcerers I need to take out. I dispatch them and find myself coming up to a great doorway with a golden fog blocking the entrance. I push through the fog and find a large red wolf sitting on the other side of a grand lecture hall. The wolf spins on hearing me enter the room and summons a golden blade from its mouth. It then jumps into the air and strikes towards me as I dodge its landing. It then summons magical blue swords as it runs around the room. They shoot towards me as I try to avoid them and approach the wolf. The wolf is very swift and it hits decently hard, but it has a very low health pool and is easily hurt. This great red wolf was the companion of the most recent Elden Lord Radahn. It appears that when he went off to become the next Elden Lord, he left his red wolf to protect Rennala, his late wife, so that she may come to no harm in his absence. Even though he left Rennala for America, this shows he cared about Rennala, even to the end. I defeat the poor wolf, and it turns to white dust. I sit at the grace that appeared after the wolf was slain to regain my strength, then leave the room. I exit the room and find myself in a courtyard outside. It is raining now, and making it harder to see. How fittingly dramatic. Off to the right, I notice a staircase going up. The staircase is broken, so the only way onto them is to climb the stone supports and jump the railing. Once I do, a large stone ball falls from a magical portal to roll down the staircase and squash any who dare enter. I avoid this ball and find a hole in its collisions to avoid being hit and make my way up the stairs. I walk down a hallway and find myself in another small courtyard with an elevator guarded by a knight in carrion armor. This knight wields magic, sword, and shield, as they were trained to be the sword and shield of the royal Carrion family. Though a tough fight, I defeat the knight and proceed up the elevator. At the top stands a massive set of doors, and the rest of the area is completely surrounded by walls. It appears we have found the queen. I approach the large metal doors and with a great struggle, force them open. I enter to find a long, elaborate rug guiding towards a large round library. I walk to the center and am stopped halfway through as my foot catches on something. I look down and see a creepy student crawling on the ground. I look around the room as the sound of giggling fills the air. Candles start to light, revealing a swarm of students littered around the room. They stop giggling and look up. A woman floats there.
Hush, little Calva. I'll soon birth thee anew, a sweeting, fresh and pure.
A golden shield forms around the woman, and the sound of singing can be heard from a couple of students. The rest throw books and other objects towards me. While avoiding objects, I see one of the singing students has a golden aura around their head. I rush them and strike them down. When I do, the shield cracks. I rush around the room, taking out the singing students. When the last one falls, so does the queen. She lies helpless on the floor as I run in with a flurry of strikes and take her down before she has the opportunity to try to escape. Renala begins to crawl away to get back to her crystallized sap.
My beloved, have no fear. I will hold thee. Patience. Ye will be countless born, forever and ever. Upon my name as Rani the Witch. Mother's rich slumber shall not be disturbed by thee. Foul trespasser. Send word far and wide. Of the last queen of Caria, Renala of the full moon. And the majesty of the night she conjureth.
Before she can get to it, a dark energy erupts from the sapling and creates an illusionary lake with a night sky above and a great moon engulfing the horizon. The words spoken by Rani the Witch inform us that the spell was put on the sap as a last resort to save her mother, were she ever in need. The magic creates an illusion of Renala at a younger stage of her life, before Radahn left her, when she was the true queen of the full moon. Renala fights with giant magical lasers, scattered blasts of glintstone crystals, magically spinning her staff like a fan, launching homing glintstone, summoning those sworn to the family, and launching a great full moon that explodes upon impact. In this form you can tell that she is truly the last queen of the great Carrion family. Renala of the full moon, the once greatest sorceress to ever live. At distance, she is a menace, but in close quarters, she is helpless. Using this weakness, we close the distance and strike down the queen. She dissolves into dust as she falls to the ground, and the vision fades. When it clears, we find ourselves back in the library, and Renala is sitting in a chair. Upon speaking to her, she offers to give me a rebirth. I am happy with the way I am, so I reject this offer. There is also a chest in this room, but it is locked and I don't have a key. With my business here concluded, I leave the academy and return to the gate. Back in the entrance courtyard, I take the seal leading north. Grace guides me along this path to a large grand lift. The lift does not activate as I have no method to make it. I am unsure what to do next, so I return to the round table. There I find Nefeli, and she tells me that she found a talisman on the ground when we beat Godric, and that I should have it as I defeated Godric. She then asks if we have met her foster father, Gideon Ofnir, thus revealing to us why she has no loyalty to Horalu, her birth father. After this, she says that she must leave, and that we will see her again if the fates decide it is so. The round table offers no other answers to our questions, so with uncertainty of where to go, I begin to explore Liurnia. We wander Liurnia for some time, but after a while, I come to an area where the crystal blue waters of Liurnia's lake turn to a putrid, polluted orange as I find myself approaching a sloped path that climbs towards a village. Surrounding this path are large poles that have bodies hanging from them. I head up this path and see light that is being cast from a lantern. I approach the light to see Nefeli sitting by a pile of bodies looking distraught. I speak with Nefeli, and she says she witnessed similar things in her infancy, murder and pillaging unchecked. Now, she wants to serve justice to those who cause oppression.
Let the scars I carve remind them. I am Nefeli Lu, warrior.
I make my way farther into the village and see a jar that is glowing a golden hue. I hit the jar, hoping to find treasures, and am surprised when a man comes out of the jar begging me not to harm him. After he realizes I mean him no harm, he tells me the village is done for, and asks that I look after the secret treasure of this village so that it does not fall into the hands of tyrants. He then hands me half of a medallion. I accept this and head farther into the village. I approach a hill that slopes down towards a bonfire. At the top of this hill is a sign to summon Nefeli Lu. I summon her and help Nefeli act her vengeance. We head down the slope and notice that the bonfire is a pile of burning bodies, and all around this area are more bodies hanging. We approach the bonfire and see a tall man wearing a mask carved with a smile and horns protruding from the mask. His two axes consist of a long blade with the horns of hundreds of omens melted into the blades. Nefeli and I have stumbled upon an omen killer. These men hunt down omens and slaughter them so that they may rid the world of what they consider to be a curse. It is said that when omen dream, they see these faces in their nightmares. Nefeli and I will ensure the omen killers see us in theirs. We begin to fight him, as he attacks with large downward swings to overpower, long slashes to cut, and stepping back to breathe fire to gain distance and burn away impurities. As he attacks, a pair of hounds join his fight, catching us off guard. Nefeli and I rush the omen killer, and the hounds get caught in the crossfire, falling quickly to attacks meant for their master. The two of us trade blows on the omen killer, knocking him back and forth until he bursts into white dust. With the battle done, Nefeli leaves. I return to the round table and find Nefeli there. She appears dejected and says she needs time to think. I go to talk to Gideon to see what may have happened, and he informs me that he has let her go because she began to become suspicious. He has no more use for her. We return to Nefeli and tell her that we know. She tells us it is true. He let her go because she cut down the men that Gideon had used to slaughter the village. He was to use them as pawns, and now the pieces were removed by his knight. So, he got rid of it for thinking on its own. Nefeli is discouraged, as now she can't trust her father for the evil he wrought. She knows not what to do, and stays discouraged. We cannot help her, so we leave to return to Liurnia and continue exploring. On the west coast of Liurnia, Grace points north, guiding me along the coast. I follow the coast and find some old ruins. At the end of the ruins there is a wall that the Grace points to. Unsure of why, I hit the wall and it disappears to reveal a manor in the distance and a giant sitting at an anvil reading a book to the left. We speak with the giant, and he reveals that his name is Iji. Iji offers us some advice. Stay away from the manor ahead, as it is trapped and we will surely perish. Very curious about this manor, I ignore the advice and head for it. Blue lasers barrage the ground to try and stop my approach. Torrent and I avoid these many groupings of lasers and make our way to the manor. I walk down the cobblestone path to find the place infested with severed hands that crawl forward like spiders, leaping at me to attack. I fight my way along the path, making my way through the manor, until I come to a courtyard with a circular pool of water sitting in the middle of the floor. In the middle of this moon-gazing pool, a spectral steed rises out of the water with a ghostly rider on its back. The spirit launches magical arrows with a spectral bow and uses a glaive to slash at us. The spirit is an illusion of Loretta, who once was a Carrion knight to the royal family, but left long ago after the fall of Renala. After Loretta is defeated, the spirit bursts into white dust. I leave the moon-gazing pool and travel beyond the manor to see 3 towers. The one ahead of us is locked, but the second tower that lies in the middle is guarded by a dragon. We come to battle with this dragon, and after a few hits, the dragon flies away. Whatever it was guarding must be in this building. I enter the tower and make my way up to the top, where I find a blue doll sitting in a chair. I speak with this doll, and it reveals that its name is Ronnie, and that she was not expecting any uninvited guests. She asks me why I came here, and I say I was just exploring. She finds that curious and tells me that she stole death long ago and now searches for the dark path. She asks if I will join her council and aid her in this feat. Believing that this sounds like a better future, I say yes, and she tells me to go below to meet the other members. I go below and meet the 3 members. E.G. is Ronnie's war counselor. He tells me he is sorry for misleading us, but now we can understand why he did so. He is happy to work with us. Blythe is a half-wolven warrior who is also Ronnie's best friend since childhood. Blythe serves Ronnie by doing all of the legwork of scouting, adventuring, and fighting. He is currently tasked with finding the lost eternal city of Nokron, starting at the well in Limgrave, and we are tasked with helping him. Celovus is a preceptor in the sorceress arts. He mocks us for being a Tarnished, and says that if I wish to actually be of help, then I should visit him in the 3rd tower nearby. I return to Ronnie, and she warns me that her doll body takes a lot of energy to control, and for this reason, she is to enter a long slumber soon. She expects good news when she next awakens. I leave the tower and make my first stop over at Celovus' tower. When I arrive, he seems annoyed and asks me if I could not tell that he was being merely polite. He then says that since I'm here, I might as well be of use. He asks me to administer a potion to Nefeli Lu. He does not tell me why, but I agree to this task because a comrade of Ronnie's is someone I could trust. I return to the round table and offer Nefeli the potion. She takes a drink of it, hoping it will be of help, and seems to fall asleep. Maybe it was to help her get some rest. I return to Celovus and tell him that she drink it. All he says to me is that we have actually been of some use, and offers to teach me magic. No news of what the potion was, though. With nothing else here, I will return later. Maybe Nefela will be awake by then. So I head to Limgrave to meet Blythe. As I travel, I find myself ambushed by an invader named Bloody Finger Nereus. I start to fight him until another Tarnished shows up unexpectedly. Together, we defeat Nereus. After the battle, the Tarnished tells me his name is Yura. Yura tells me that these Bloody Fingers are Tarnished who have turned to madness and now hunt their own. He hunts these Bloody Fingers in search of a friend he has lost to them. He is trying to find his friend as quick as possible, for he is not sure how much time he has left. He tells me to keep my distance from these hunters and to protect myself. With that, we go our separate ways. I continue to travel a great distance until I come across a strange round building in the middle of the woods. As I approach, the doors open. They reveal a stone plate on the floor inside. I stand on the plate, and it begins to glow a magical blue as the elevator begins to descend deep into the earth. Outside of the elevator, I can see what appears to be a starry night sky and a city, but we descend past this point. We find ourselves stopping at a grassy terrain where ancient ruins appear to be crumbling. We make our way into these ruins as men made of stone send magical bubbles that explode when they pop towards me. I smash my way through them with a great axe and traverse my way to a set of stairs that lead to another elevator. This elevator takes us further into the earth, and when we exit, we see the glimpses of a starry sky off in the distance. We travel up a river until we get to a large open area where we can see several rocky pillars stabbing up from the ground in the shapes of spires. Ancient ruins lying around, a dark starry sky above, and a massive ancient temple sitting atop a large mountain with no way to approach. We head into this mystical area and begin to look for Blythe. After some time of galloping, I find Blythe standing on the edge of a cliff. I approach him, and he tells me that he can see Nokron above, but cannot find any possible way to get there. He says that it is time to ask Celibus. Celibus had been acting like he knew something, so Blythe suggests we should rough Celibus up for some info. He's only kidding, for he would never go that far, and tells us that he has some loose ends to tie up here, so we should go on without him. So I go to talk to Celibus. He tells me that he had been looking into it, but if we are to retrieve the info, then we must go to a sorceress named Selin, for she was doing the work for him. So, we leave to go find Selin. We find Selin back in Limgrave. She tells us that she has been tracking this for Celibus. She says that Ranni's fate is tied to the stars, but currently, the stars do not stir. Long ago, a great warrior wanted to prove his strength as the strongest. He began to train in the art of war, and as he grew too big for his horse. Not being one to abandon his closest friend, he trained in the study of gravity magic. He used this magic to make himself light enough for his horse to carry him at first. But then, he began to train to use it in the art of war. He became the greatest wielder of gravity and war that in an act to prove his strength to himself and the world, he conquered the stars, stopping their movement and forcing the night to a halt. This warrior was the son of the Carrion Queen Renala and the brother to Ranni the Witch. This warrior was General Radahn, commander of the Red Mane army named after his hair that he proudly inherited from his father Radahn. Meaning that if we are to stir forth the movements of Ranni's fate, then we must defeat the world's strongest warrior and demigod, General Star Scourge Radahn. With this knowledge, we leave and head towards Caelid. Radahn has a fortress in Caelid, where he and his army used to inhabit. If Radahn is anywhere, he is likely there. As we approach Caelid, the green grass fades away, with what remaining turning to a dead yellow, and the dirt begins to change shades to a corrupted red. Caelid was once a beautiful countryside, but is now corrupted by the touch of scarlet rot. During the time after the Shattering, two demigods went to war against each other in the land of Caelid. These were Melania, the Blade of Mikola, with her Scarlet Knight army, and Star Scourge Radahn with his Red Mane army. These two demigods came to blows that left Earth shaking with each blow. But in the end, Radahn was too strong for Melania. So, in one last-ditch effort to escape alive, the Scarlet Valkyrie bloomed. The effects sent ripples throughout all of Caelid, leaving lasting effects on the land, animal, and people who inhabit the region. Caelid was once a beautiful countryside. Now, it is ground zero for the second blooming of Melania. A desolate landscape where the rot has mutated all that lives here. I don't want to be here for very long, so I head straight for Redmane Castle. As I approach, I must cross a large bridge where you can see the menacing presence of the castle sitting atop a mountain ahead. Surrounded by cliffs on all sides, making the only way to approach a long bridge is the exact design you would expect from a tactician. Easy to fortify and easy to defend. Where once there was an army, there is now only an empty approach to the castle gate. The castle gate is closed, so I must find another way to enter this castle. I begin to follow the walls, and find a path that leads around the outside of the castle. After jumping across some cliffs, I find a ladder that leads into the castle. From here, I make my way to the main castle courtyard. As I approach, I begin to hear the chants of warriors getting ready for a great battle. I enter the courtyard, and a man shouts,
Champions! Welcome! The stars have aligned! The festival is nigh! General Radahn, mightiest demigod of the Shattering, awaits you! Champions! Prepare for battle! Defeat the general, claim glory, and grab that great rune! A celebration of war! The Radahn Festival!
I prepare for battle and talk to Blythe as I see he has come here to fight in the festival. He says he thought he might find us here, and that he has also found out that Ranni's fate is tied to Radahn, so he has come here to fight. So now we stand against the demigod, once known as the strongest of them all. I walk up to the man on the wall. His name is Jaren, and he was once steward to the great demigod. He asks us if we are prepared. We say yes, and he tells us that there are some things we should know.
Before we begin, allow me to paint you the full picture. General Radahn is cursed ever to wander. Eaten from the inside by Melania's scarlet rot, his wits are long gone. Now he gathers the corpses of former friends and foes alike, gorging on them like a dog.
From here I make my way through a chapel and onto a wooden elevator. On the ride down, I can see a large, desolate battlefield, where many weapons and banners lie from the countless soldiers that fell in their time of war. At the bottom of the elevator, I walk down a calm beach to a warp stone that sits at the end. I touch it, and it sends me across the water to the battlefield. I step forward, and something purple rushes towards me as I get hit in the face by a streak of gravity magic. I stand up and sprint for the summoning signs of my comrades for this fight. I summon Lionel the Lion-Hearted, the Great Horned Tragoth, Okina, the Bloody Samurai, Alexander the Warrior Jar, and of course, Blythe the Half-Wolf. I avoid blasts of gravity magic as I summon these warriors. I then summon Torrent and ride towards Radahn, avoiding arrows on the way. As I approach Radahn, I leap from Torrent to strike at Radahn, but he catches me in the air with a blast of gravity. I quickly get up and close the distance, coming in with a slash and rolling out of the way as he slides toward me with his blades. He then jumps into the air as I sidestep the attack. He slams into the ground and I strike in the moment. I take this opportunity to get more strikes in as my comrades arrive to deal more damage. Radahn catches me mid-swing and crushes me as my allies barrage him with blows. I stand up and Radahn knocks his knuckles together as he raises his hands and stabs his swords towards me. I duck them and strike his body as his swords drive into the earth. Gravity swells from his blades, and he tears them from the earth as I roll to avoid the swell of magic. Stones from the earth now cling to his swords, pulled to his blades by the runes of gravity carved into them. Radahn roars, and the air swells with purple magic as Radahn sends a wave of gravity out. These warriors and I gang up on him, hitting him with everything we have. Radahn looks injured and roars in frustration as he launches into the air. He is nowhere to be seen. Then suddenly, a great light quickly hastens towards us, and I see Radahn streaking toward us like a meteor. I roll to avoid, and the strike wipes out all of my allies. I strike Radahn down before he has the chance to treat me the same way. Radahn falls and bursts into white dust. As he does, the stars start to shoot across the sky, and a great comet crashes into the earth somewhere in Limgrave. I speak with Blythe, and he says he is headed that way. I head to Limgrave and find that the impact has left a massive crater that reveals a path to the eternal city of Nokron. I find a sign from Blythe that says to continue without him, so I do. Jumping across floating boulders, I make my way into the ancient city. I have to jump from rooftop to rooftop as I descend into the city. I come out to a ledge where I can see in the distance a great city, and even farther, the ancient temple that was seen from below. I follow the path to the right and find myself coming to a large stone archway with a golden fog swallowing the entrance. I push through the fog and find an empty room. As I approach the center of the room, I notice the silver sludge begin to convulse. It changes its shape, leaving me staring at an image of myself. This begins the second fight with the greatest warrior of all time. After a few blows traded back and forth, the copy falls. I exit the room, cross a large stone bridge, and follow a cliff face to the left. This leads to a building. I then have to traverse from roof to roof again until I find myself on a stone path leading to a massive throne. Under the throne is a chest, but guarding the path are a dozen silver tears. I fight my way through them, including one that turned into a troll, and open the chest. Inside this chest is a weapon named the Finger Slayer Blade. I take this weapon and I return to Ranni. Ranni tells us that she is pleased and must soon begin her dark journey alone. But before she leaves, she entrusts us with a small statue called the Carrion Inverted Statue. She thanks us for our brief but fine service, then bids us farewell. So, we leave to the Inverted Tower. This tower can be found in Liurnia. There is an altar in the entrance that when the idol is placed, inverts the tower. I traverse through this tower and find myself on a massive bridge. While crossing this bridge, a large man covered in skin attacks me. He attacks with black flame, a rapier, and rolling like a tire. I defeat him and continue into the tower ahead. There is a stone plate in the center, which I stand on, and the floor lifts up hundreds of feet into the air. At the top, I exit and climb some stairs, coming to a giant roof with a circle of dirt in the middle, where a body lies. This body is very tall and has the symbol of the black blade engraved on its back. This is the corpse of Ranni. Ranni is one of the two demigods who were killed on the Night of the Black Knives. Ranni was slain at the same time as the other demigod. This had the unique effect to where Godwyn was slain in spirit, leaving his body alive, but motionless. Ranni, however, was slain in body, leaving her spirit alive to leave the vessel containing it. This is why she possesses a doll to interact with others. We return to Ranni's tower to find that she is no longer there. Upon exiting the tower, I make my way through some nearby ruins and find a secret entrance to a room below. I enter this room and find several bodies lying around the room in the exact same pose Nefeli was in when she fell asleep. At the end of this room, I find a sign. It reads, Celavis's puppet, do not touch. Next to the sign is a strange wall that is shaped like a door. I strike the wall, and it disappears, revealing a hidden chamber. In this chamber stands a puppet that looks like Selen, next to a bed. To the right of the bed lies the body of Nefeli Lu, lifeless. I fall to my knees in despair. This is all my fault. What disgusting, unspeakable things is Celavis doing to the body of my comrade? I stand back up, and with rage, I travel to Celavis. He calls me an oaf for rooting through his personal belongings, mocks me for trusting him and having her drink the potion. He says this makes me an accomplice. He offers me the option to buy puppets of my own. In anger, I strike at Celovus, but I cannot hurt him. He tells me to not return here. I will get no justice for the wrongs committed. But, as much as I blame Celovus, I can blame myself just as much. I guess this is what I get for trusting someone and not asking any questions. As I leave this area, I see the seal to the third tower is gone. I approach and ascend the tower. At the top, I find a warp stone. It sends me to the river in the middle of a cave. I find a miniature doll of Ronnie. After interacting with it, she talks to me. She does not seem to recognize me and demands we strike down the assassin that stalks her. So, we do as we are told. I make my way through the ancient ruins and a large cave system to find myself once again in an eternal city. This is the sister city to Nokron, Nokstella. I traverse through and find an elevator that leads down. It opens to a cave and a river. I follow this river through a tunnel and end up at an open area where a red vision of a figure resembling Blythe wielding destined death is seen wandering around. As I approach, it turns to me, and we come to blows. After a brief fight, it falls and drops a key. I remember there being a locked chest in Renala's chamber, so I head there. The key unlocks the chest and reveals a ring in the shape of a moon. We take this ring and return to where we left off. In this room where I fought the vision, I find another elevator. I descend the elevator and exit to find a large lake made of scarlet rot. I make my way across this lake and traverse through some ancient ruins which lead me to a stone coffin sitting at the top of a scarlet waterfall. I climb inside the coffin and it magically floats me down the waterfall. At the bottom, I climb out and find myself in a cage filled with mushrooms glowing in magical blue energy. At the end of this cave is a large opening covered in a thick golden fog. I push through the fog and find myself in a cave filled with a galaxy. There is water on the ground reflecting the vision of the purple and blue hues floating above. In the center of all this beauty is a great being. This creature has a head that resembles a person's, but a large blue eye sits in the middle, cracking open the head. Two massive pincers are jutting from its face like a beetle. Its body is made of floating stones colored blue, purple, and orange, resembling planets, ending in a spiked, barbed tail. 4 large dragonfly-like wings protrude from its back, and it crawls on 4 giant, bony, human-like arms. This is Estelle, devourer of the stars. This monstrosity was drawn to Nokstella for the magic galaxy that it stole and devoured. Now it stays here trapped with its fake galaxy. It swipes with nebulas that explode. It crashes with waves of energy that crush. It blinks in a flash that transports it around the room. It blasts lasers like comets that pierce, and it roars as it summons meteors in a shower that blitz the earth. But I conquered the conqueror of the stars. I can also conquer the stars themselves. So I do. I attack, and I blacken the stars. Until Estelle leaves only a white dust behind. After the fall, the fog clears, revealing the passage forward. I follow a path up a sloped hill and find an elevator. I stand on the elevator, and it begins to ascend. At the top, I exit the elevator to find myself in a grassy terrain. Blue lights streak down from the sky into the horizon. Ahead, there is the ruins of a cathedral. As I approach the cathedral, a dragon appears in a blue mist. It roars upon its arrival. The fight with the dragon is over swiftly, and I enter the cathedral. In the cathedral, I find a hole that leads underground. I follow the hole, falling from jutting stone to jutting stone until I reach the bottom, where I am in a tunnel. I follow this tunnel and enter a large open cave. At the other side of this cave is a large body of the two fingers, sliced down the middle, with blood painted across its wound. Sitting at the bottom of these fingers is the broken and torn doll of Ranni the Witch. It is missing its cloth, revealing only the blood-covered ropes that hold the wooden parts together. I approach the doll and put the ring of the moon on Ranni's hand, after which she fades into a blue mist, then reappears moments later in another blue mist. She says I have done a great job, and now she must return to the night sky. But she tells me that we will see each other once more. She then leaves behind a gift of the Dark Moon Greatsword. I leave the cave and return to Iji to tell him the news. I then travel back to the Three Towers to give Blythe the good news. As I approach the tower that Ranni once resided in, I see the figure of a body covered by the chilling blue mist that covers the land. I approach it to find that it is the body of a black knife assassin. I cautiously approach the tower and hear Blythe fighting with himself, convincing himself that he is only serving Ranni. As I get closer to him, I can see several assassins lying lifeless on the ground. Blythe cleaves them all down as he fought to survive. When Blythe sees me, he growls as he sprints at me, blade held out. He comes at me with a swing, and I roll to avoid. Blythe strikes with vicious yet fluid strikes that are wielded by a skilled fighter. I plead with him to stop while I defend myself from his blows, and hoping to knock some sense into him. The duel rages as our blades dance across the field, clouds of ice crashing from our blades. I can't help but pull my swipes as I am afraid to hurt my friend. He, however, is not holding back, and I suffer for it. Long ago, the Two Fingers chose Ranni to be an Empyrean. Empyreans are demigods, chosen to one day be the ruler of the lands between. Every Empyrean is given a shadow in the form of a wolfman. Shadows are meant to protect their lord, but if they betray the Two Fingers, strike them down. Blythe is Ranni's shadow, but he was also more than that. Ranni and Blythe grew together as young children to adulthood. They became the best of friends, and their bond was unbreakable. Now, Blythe has been activated to betray Ranni and strike her down, but Blythe fights for his control. Until the end, he is loyal to Ranni. Unfortunately for me, I am not Ranni. That means I am only an enemy in his eyes now, which now glow with a violent red hue. Realizing my friend is lost and that I am not getting him back, I decide to set him free. I attack as if he were an enemy, as the cold wind freezes my tears. With one last release of the ice from my blade, Blythe falls still and bursts into white dust. I fall to my knees, sorrow and desperation cling to my soul. I am sorry, friend. You were the greatest warrior I had known, and we survived many battles together. I'm sorry that this is how it ended. Looking for assistance, I stumble my way to Celavis's tower. Too blinded and hurt, I seek his aid. I arrive at his tower to find Celavis dead, and I am reminded of the monster that he is. Good riddance. He deserved death for what he did to Nefeli. But there is no aid here. So I go to see Iji. I arrive to see Iji shrouded in black flames as they dance across his body. And next to him is a dead Black Knife assassin. It seems even poor Iji didn't survive. How could this happen? How could Ronnie let her selfish desires leave her friends to suffer for her? How could she betray them like this? I calmed myself. She didn't bring these assassins here to kill her friends. She only left them to fend for themselves. Blythe and EG deserved better. There's no point letting their deaths be in vain. I am sorry, EG. Blythe. I will help Ronnie become a god. We will fix this world. But in the back of my mind, now lies doubts. There is now mistrust. I have been betrayed once by someone I trusted. Could this be the second time? Something hot dances ever so slightly at the back of my eyes. There is no one left here for me. And if I am to help Ronnie, then I will have to make it to the Erd Tree. I must continue to make my way to the capital, if I am to make Ronnie a god.